some crazy stats right here, and I'm gonna go over it to you. So check this out. Around 1 in 37 homes are now worth much less than the remaining mortgage balance according to new data released. So what does that mean? That means that 1 in every 37th homeowner that took out a mortgage is seriously underwater. It didn't really say mortgages, it just says homeowners. So that assumes is mortgages, right? So when you look at statistics like that, it always comes to mind of me like, how bad is it really, right? That number 1 in every 37 houses isn't too bad when you just look at it like that, right? That's what I thought. So I looked at it. How many how many mortgages are there in the United States, right? So I looked that up, and that is 84 million mortgages. So simple math, you take the 84 million, you divide it by 37, and then you know how many people are actually seriously underwater, right? So I did that math, and that means that about 2.27 million people owe more on their home than its actual worth. So now you could say, well, unless they move, it's not really an issue. Yeah, you could say something like that. But the problem is once you do got to do it, because a home is not really like a car, and you can just basically go to the dealership and say, hey, I got $4,000 negative equity. I'm going to write you a check, or you can just roll it into the next one, because on most mortgages that I've seen, they close it out and then you start another one, right? So they have an end balance sheet at the title company, and then you kind of get another one and they'll give you a whole new sheet. And nowhere on there does it say rolling over negative equity. But there's always programs out there that you can do, there's so many programs out there that there's probably one that you can do that. And now I'm asking my viewers if you know of a program that lets you do that. I don't think you can, just because it just wouldn't make any sense of rolling in the negative equity, because no bank wants to lend you money on negative equity on a home that might not appreciate, right? Because they loan to value, right? So that's why they want down payments. And that's why the car dealership also wants down payments to cover their ass, because they don't want to get the car repoed. And you, as the bank or as the financier, is like, yo, if you're not going to make the payment, I don't want to have the whole burden of owing or taking on that risk. That's why you need a good credit score. And then they say, oh, he has a good credit score. That means, he pays his bills. So I don't need to worry about him, defaulting on his loan. Or if he does default, hopefully it's way down the road where he's in a positive position, rather than him driving it off the lot and 2 months down the road, we're going to have to repo it. So what does that mean for consumers, right? So people tell me all the time that it's not an issue because, it's like, hey, you just live in it and you pay it off over 30 years and it will get themselves out. Yes, technically that's correct if you don't move. But as we know, life happens. And once life happens, you got to make moves. So you got to move because of a job. You got to, your area is not that great. You want to change because the school district isn't great. You want to, you kind of FOMOed into the housing market. And now you're thinking, oh my gosh, now I need out. Now I want to get out. I want to do something, go another place, or I hate where I live because I bought it, pre-COVID. And I don't want to live in Florida no more because it's skyrocketed insurance and all that, or I hate my HOA. And now you can't sell because you have negative equity, right? So then once you're in a position where you have negative equity like that, you're really kind of screwed, because when you are in a car, like let's say just, for example, let's take the car again, the balances on a car, I've seen some crazy numbers like 60 plus thousands on some Kias, but that was during COVID, and that was, way stupid. I don't know why anybody did that. But in most cases with a car, it's a few $1,000s, and a bank will take a chance on you and say, hey, just just roll into the next one and we're good to go. But with a house, you can't just say roll into the next one, right? So now life happens, you want to change school district, and you can't do it because you're stuck. So what kind of options do you have? Well, you kind of need to either rent it out, short sell it, or do something. And those renting it out brings its own set of issues. People say, great, you're going to be a landlord. Yeah, you are. But then, if the water heater breaks and if you can rent it out for a profit, because some markets, that you bought into might not might not um might not give you the money to cover the mortgage, right? So that's a whole nother thing. So when you talk about seriously underwater mortgages, right? How does that come from? Well, when you own basically less, your down payment got kind of wiped out, and the bank owns more than on the loan on the value than you actually have. So it's really, really detrimental when you think about it, is that you as consumers are always last. The bank secures themselves, and the taxes got to be paid, insurance got to be paid, and then you're basically the left, like always, holding the bag, right? So, and when you hear all these influencers, all these real estate influencers, and you gotta buy, you gotta do it, and it's gonna make you rich in 30 years. Yeah, if you can keep it for 30 years. But like I just said 2 minutes ago, if the water heater breaks, you're like, I'm gonna rent it out and do stuff with it. Well, that's a great idea till your tenants stop paying, right? Or you're gonna have an issue with the water heater and it's gonna cost you thousands to repair. And if you bought a new build house, that brings up a whole nother set of issue, because if it was built during COVID, I've seen some that are built so poorly that they need constant repairs, and it's not like they did pre-COVID, right? So now you want to move, right? You're like, I do want to move. I don't want a short sale. I don't want to rent it out. So you have no other options. There's just no other options that I see that you can do to kind of do what you want to do, because you'd have to sell it for more than the balance is on the mortgage on the bank so they can get paid. And real estate transactions are hella expensive. So people always underestimate how expensive it is. Everybody takes a piece of the pie. Real estate agents takes a percentage. Title company takes a few $1,000s. You know, escrow company takes money. Everybody, and then the state tax, local taxes, HOA takes their dues. Everybody has their hand in the cookie jar. And you are the one that's like paying for it. So when I bought my house here in Las Vegas, it was so expensive to do it. And thank God I told my realtor, hey, give me some of your commission, because I basically found the deal. I didn't even look at it. You were just doing the paperwork. But it is really, really crazy that it costs so much to sell and buy a house. So, and if you can sell, because there's markets right now in Florida that you almost can't get rid of your house. So check out the Cape Coral area. I used to have a house down there with my parents. My parents used to own a house there. Look at how many how many houses are for sale. So now you're looking at competition, right? And then people say, oh, I'm a motivated seller because I need to move. So once you gotta go and put in motivated seller already bought a new house, that's gonna do one or two things, right? It's gonna either get you lowball offers from investors, or it's gonna sit on the market long because there's so many other people that are trying to buy or try to sell, and so that forces downwards pressure, right? Supply and demand. If you're the only one in your neighborhood trying to sell, you can kind of charge a premium because people probably want to be in that area, and so that means it's a higher price. And now when you have when you have so many competition, when you have such a fierce competition, that does force downward pressure, right, on the prices. And people say, oh, we're going to just hold out. Well, your house is going to sit on the market for a year, and that's going to cost you a year worth of mortgage payments and all that. And hopefully the market doesn't depreciate, because then you're kind of chasing the downwards market. And that is a position you'd never, ever want to be in. You want to price it competitively, get it sold, get out, and get something else. Because if you're chasing the market downwards, that's never, ever a good deal. But on the other side, if the market's going up and you keep upping the price and you kind of chase the market up, you're more likely to then, get a good deal. But as we're looking right now with the recession and all that, it's not looking good for most Americans, including everybody else. I'm seeing it all over. We are not doing great. We're hanging on by a thread. It is so crazy how I see all these layoffs and people try to move back into the big cities. And so I wonder, all these places that had such a boom in Florida, all these people that were remote and try to FOMO in and say, I'm going to start living remotely and do all the work. And now they're like, hey, you got time to come back or you're done. So now you're looking like, okay, what do you do now? You got this house, that insurance is hell of expensive. You got all these other expenses that you can't do and you can't sell because on your street, 3 other people are selling. So why would they pick your house? You got to pick the house that has the nicest options, you can get the best deal on. And if this was me now in a market like this, what I would do is I would basically go in and write lowball offers. And the person that waited on the sidelines, because the market goes in cycles, is the one that's winning, right? So now you didn't FOMO in. Now you can basically write lowball offers. Your agent is probably like, oh my gosh, I found somebody that has the money to buy. And you can now negotiate. Beforehand, before this whole thing happened, with COVID, where everybody just overbids on houses, you didn't have no leverage. You had no leverage because people were just overbidding, and you had to come in over asking price. You had to get what do you call it? You had to get a cash offer and then refinance later to even stand a chance. But now you can come in with FHA loans. You can actually see if they can do an assumable loan. All these crazy things now because you just waited. And when I look at Warren Buffett, he's been sitting on a lot of cash. And he says, oh, the numbers just don't make sense right now, so I'm waiting. So I feel like Americans and just don't want to wait, just don't have it in it to wait for the market cycles. We're just if we want something, we go do it now. That's why our dealership lots are so full. When you go to Europe, our car dealership lots aren't that full because we can order to spec, it takes time, and then we get the car. But in the US, we need it now. And when we need it now, it comes at a price, right? So we don't want to wait. And I include it, living here now for 4 years, I get that concept. And it's really nice to just go down to the auto mall or something and just buy it right now. But that also comes at a price. So yeah, these people that are waiting and are thinking about buying now, pretty good, because even though interest rates are high, you can write lowball offers. And don't bring me none of that nonsense like, my real estate agent doesn't want me to do it. Of course they don't. Of course they don't want you to write a lowball offer because they're not getting paid. They're getting paid from the seller. So they both want the highest price. They say, oh yeah, I got a fiduciary duty to do that. That doesn't mean anything. They want the highest price and you want the lowest possible as the buyers. And in real estate, the number one goal, if you watch so far, is money is made when you buy it. So let me know what you guys think of this video. I'll take you to my property that I just purchased in a little bit, and I will tell you what we're going to do with that. So we got really, really cool stuff coming. I'm back in Vegas. I've had some crazy stuff in Mexico that I was doing. had some time with family. Now I'm recharged, back at it, and I'll try to take you along for some more things that I'm doing. And I will talk to you guys in the next one.